How I found Teen Riders. I get a call one Saturday morning from my father at 2 in the morning. I'm dead asleep, phone rings, and when you get that call at 2 in the morning, it's always a scary call. Pick up the phone and my dad says, hey, you gotta call your cousin. Your cousin Sean was just killed. And when he said that, it was devastating. Sean lived in Kentucky, and I had to call his mother, which is my cousin. Sean's my second cousin. And that was one of the worst phone calls that I've ever had to make. Imagine I'm making a call at 2 o'clock in the morning. And so I told her what had happened, and it was devastating to her as well, and the family. So what had happened, he's in Kentucky driving an early Sunday morning, loses control of a car. He's driving a car flips over. 2 of his high school friends are in the car, they all 3 get killed. At that point, this was about 10 years ago, I said, I want to do something, because this is something that nobody really ever talks about, is teenagers and driving. So I started doing my homework. I came up with the yellow license plate frame. I just sat down one day and I said, that's it, I'm going to draw up this frame. I drew this license plate frame up on a piece of paper. I give it to my business partner and I say, I want you to clean this drawing up for me, and then I want you to clean up this second drawing that was the decal for the bumper sticker and the window decal. So the next day, Eric comes in and he has the drawings, and I look at them and go, they're perfect. So then I contact a friend of mine who's a police officer. I said, what do you think of it? What do you think of this idea I have? The license plate frame is to help identify teenage drivers who are in high school with a provisional license. He said, I love the idea. So that's kind of how this was born. So at that point, I go to Atlanta, Georgia, have some friends there. Sit down with them. I present this idea to them. I said, look, I want to do this. Again, you got to remember, this is 3 years ago. I had a lot of people say, you're not going to be able to do this. What they didn't realize is, being an ex-fighter, I wanted to fight through this and say, look, I can do this. I'm going to accomplish this. I kind of have the mindset that anything that I set out to do, I want to do it. So we found No Teen Riders and actually I take that back, in 2015 is when we founded it. We launched it in Atlanta, Georgia, and it just kind of grew from there. I then started in California and took it to Santa Maria High School with the help of a friend of mine. Once the principal saw what we were doing, I went back. I went there numerous times, 3 or 4 times. And along the way, I had talked to California Highway Patrol officers about what I was doing. I spoke to congressmen, congresswomen. I even met a former First Lady. I flew back into Atlanta to meet the former First Lady and took pictures with her, a photo op, and we talked about my nonprofit and what I was doing. So at that point, I knew I had something good. I knew that I could help save teenagers' lives and educate them and make a difference in this world, which again was very important to me. So back to Santa Maria. Going one evening there, driving early in the morning, I should say. Later that day, we have oh my gosh, what do you want? I can't even think of the word. We have I can't think of the word, an assembly. So there's about 300 people there in the assembly, all parents, PTA members, principal, vice principal, and I go through my spiel with them. We do about a 15-minute presentation on No Teen Riders and educating the parents as well as the teenagers about driving. And it was at that moment I knew that I had something good. After we were done, parents started coming up to me. This is a predominantly Hispanic audience. Started asking me questions in Spanish. I had an interpreter there with me as well. But I answered questions, and I said, look, I'm not the DMV, nor am I a legal person. I don't want to give you any legal advice, but what I recommend for them to do is take my license plate frames, put them on the back of these teenagers' cars, and then send me pictures of these kids driving the cars. Again, I wanted to educate these kids, because when you're at that age, it's so important. You're invincible, basically, and you think that I'm never going to die, and you do crazy things. One of the laws in the state of California, which I think is very important, is until you reach the age of 18 or 18, you have to drive for 1 year without having anybody in the car. And that's the law. A lot of parents don't even know that law. So if you break that law, that's where we have issues. You get kids, thousands upon thousands to hundreds of thousands get killed and injured every year because they're breaking law and they don't even realize it. So it was my intention, again, to educate teenagers, to be able to make a difference in the lives of these families, so that you don't have anybody losing their life, okay? Because that I wouldn't want to, to my worst enemy, I wouldn't want that to happen to them, because when you lose a loved one, especially a child, it just is devastating. So again, that's why we founded No Teen Riders. It was with that purpose, to educate kids across the country